to another edition of the Dirty Verdict Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Peter Taff.
I'm Kyle Herbert, full-time litigator, here with my good friend.
I am Bill Ogden, full-time litigator, here with my good friend.
Point of order. I ran into some folks, a young lady in Austin, who said, this weekend, who said that she knew you, and I showed her a picture, but she did not recognize you as Peter Taff. She said that she had come to know you in Austin as Peter Diamond or Peter D.
Nice.
PD?
Peter, what is the origin of Peter Diamond?
Well, the origin is this. When my kids were young, we would go down to South Padre Island every Memorial Day weekend with probably 10 families with kids the same age, and we'd take over this whole complex, and I just had a great time. Good family playing wiffle ball and swimming and playing bocce.
Good, clean American fun.
And there's a great bar I recommend you called the Coral Reef in South Padre. And we were there one night, and this karaoke bar.
Obviously. What'd you sing?
Well, I got on stage and sang Sweet Caroline.
Sweet Caroline.
I grew up as a fan of...
Easy to get the crowd going.
Yeah, my parents were big Neil Diamond fans. First concert I ever went to was Neil Diamond.
Wow.
Dude, my first concert ever was Neil Diamond at the Astrodome.
Oh.
If anybody's out there trying to figure out what Kyle and Pete are, Kyle is a rabbit.
I'm the Easter Bunny.
Yeah. And then Pete
For Halloween.
is Forrest Gump, the most offensive movie character there is.
We're recording this on October 30th. We've just had the Thesons, and so everyone dressed up for Halloween. And
Whoa, happy Halloween.
we're keeping our outfits, and I'm Forrest Gump.
Nobody told me that we were dressing up, so
Yeah, Bill just came like that. And
I'm in a tracksuit per usual.
So I was told all the Westlake moms, all the Austin moms are in love with Peter Diamond.
maybe so. But anyhow, so I sang at that, and turns out have a good, when I'm in that mode, and I came up with this character where I was Neil Diamond's cousin who was glomming off his name, and he played at the Days Inn in Rockport.
You were Nelson Diamond.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Peter Diamond.
Peter, yeah.
And so now I have a
cult following.
I have a little, was it alt ego?
Awesome.
Of that. And so I think the last time I did it was at Pete's Piano Bar for my daughter's parents' weekend or dad's.
I was told on Saturday that you might make an appearance as Peter Diamond at Don's Depot, but I didn't make it out.
I haven't been invited to this. That's a serious musical place, so I would be underplaying that.
The people I was talking to seemed to suggest you had some pretty serious musical chops.
Well, we'll see. It depends. It usually takes a little bit of preparation.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Preparation H?
no, just preparation.
You gotta prime the engine. Gotta get the vocal cords ready.
A through G.
Yep.
So, but yeah, if whenever the time comes, it has to be right. You can't.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Can't force it.
Talent like that's got to just bloom.
Yeah, it just kind of comes out when it comes out.
You
I was going
can't
to say that.
You can't coax it.
All right, so Kyle, we're going to go through news this week.
Lay it on me, Pete.
Kyle's favorite subject, Baylor University, for the past couple weeks.
Sick a man.
It's like Kyle, true or false, saddest city in the state of Texas, Waco, Texas.
Gotta be true.
Yeah, I would agree. It's an easy, that's low hanging fruit.
I mean, it's just shiplap, like a barren wasteland of shiplap and
A lot of silos.
silos and
Kinley.
sadness.
Well, anyhow,
Branch Davidians.
that
Although I will say this, Pete, not to interrupt again, if we ever start that cult we've been talking about,
Yep.
it's gonna be in Waco.
Gotta be.
Yeah, there's no other choice.
It's that or El Dorado.
okay. What El Dorado out in West Texas or
Yep.
Arkansas?
The one that's famous for a cult.
All right. Well, back to this one, and I'm on record being a little more pro Waco than y'all are, just because.
Well, you had that wonderful afternoon antiquing.
Yeah, it was great. I was impressed, and I think it's a hidden gem.
The best place to antique outside of Connecticut is Round Top, Texas.
Yeah, sure.
Period.
That's right. Okay, so
I want to kill you both right now.
we talked about this before. There's a woman who is now a JP, Justice of the Peace in Houston,
Yeah.
filed this case. And first story was,
I want to make that clear. The complainant, the plaintiff in this case, is now a justice of the peace in Houston
she was a student at the time
at Baylor.
when this the alleged bad acts happened. I guess the jury determined they weren't alleged; they were bad acts, in fact. So Art Briles, the former coach, testified, and so the Texas Monthly article says, it's kind of a curious. First of all, he has a goatee and long hair.
Yeah, he has long hair now. I ran into him at the Einstein's Bagels on Kirby maybe a couple months ago.
Okay, well, there you go.
He looked like a skinny homeless man, but with like a really nice Nike jogging suit. And he was carrying a small dog.
Speaking of tracksuits,
Not all that, and I'm totally honest, not all that different than how Bill looks right now.
Like gray hair, other one.
Yeah.
when somebody asks, what am I? I'm like, Art Briles.
Ish.
So I'm Waco, Texas.
So the first story was that he had some interesting testimony. By interesting, I mean kind of bizarre.
Hey, did he say he didn't know anything about it? Or
He didn't even know who wrote the book.
Yeah, he said he denied he wrote his memoir.
yeah. So
And
to be clear,
it was like, I have no idea what he's talking about. He
Yeah.
intimately involved.
Here's
So
a piece of
he
paper he
was-
signed after reading it.
So he was confronted on the stand with some testimony that was quotes lifted from his book, and he denied like any knowledge of the book and the author, and like, oh, that wasn't me. I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And then,
Clearly, they were going to impeach him with some
Yeah.
things that were said in that, and I guess that was his way out. Next one was he denied that he had ever sued Baylor officials after he was fired. It was shown that he had hired super legendary lawyer Ernie Cannon, who had filed the suit. It was later dismissed, but that was not true.
but everybody knows that not filing a lawsuit is basically the same thing as losing and getting it dismissed.
Yeah.
I don't know what that feels like.
There's
I've made a career out of doing that. That's not true, actually. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
there's some questions about the player involved. There was, did he play well or what have you? Anyhow, it didn't sound like things went super well for him. Okay, so the outcome was, as reported by ESPN, that the jury found against Baylor and awarded, I believe, a little north of $1 million in damages. Is that
Good for that young lady. Standing up for herself.
so? Probably, I guess y'all would say, for someone like y'all who get $1 billion verdicts, judgments, maybe not $1 million. Probably it's not super home run.
Well, so
I think that's a home run.
But yeah, I would say this. The fact that a jury in the Western District of Texas held Baylor University accountable based on the complaint of one woman, I would say that's a home run for her. Regardless of the money, that's a home run for her.
I think so too.
I would say
Those are hard cases.
incredibly
Yeah, I
difficult.
mean, you're in the backyard of the defendant,
Yeah.
and the majority of your jurors are going to be supporters of that defendant.
Sure. And so I do have one question. And Pete, I don't know if you know the answer to this. I did see that several folks were sued individually, including Coach Briles. And I know that Texas has this, a lot of states have it, but it's basically a legal situation where you have to sue the public employee in their public status or their private status, and if you don't do that exactly right, then they can get out on an immunity standard. But even if you hold them in the case, they're not actually liable. It's the institution that pays. Did you follow that pays? Did you follow that at all, or have any sense? Because I know Briles, his name ended up not being on the jury verdict, right?
Okay, so Bill is probably a better subject matter expert on this than I am, but I think the case was a Title IX violation,
Right.
which is probably only exclusively against the institution.
That's what I thought.
And it was actually $270,000, but there was a negligence claim.
It's not really a negligence on Title IX. It's not really a negligence claim. Once you get through Title IX, and you go through the admin loopholes. It's kind of like a FELA standard.
Yep. Well,
It's if the school did anything to further put you at risk, they're liable. So
well, I guess now that litigation's over, and I guess our Briles has been vindicated legally, Jeff Lebby at OU can now have his father-in-law on the sidelines and everything.
That was the last sighting of Mr. Briles, Coach Briles, was at
The OU game,
sideline.
a celebrated contributor to college football.
Okay, we'll move on from that. Is that the end of the Baylor Art Briles saga?
I don't know that there's any other pending litigation. What's the statute of limitations for sexual assault in the state? Anybody know?
Has it been changed recently? It used to be 5.
why are you looking at me, Pete?
Because I thought you had
Yeah, haven't you had some cases like this?
I do, but I don't know the sex assault punishment.
you file yours timely, so you don't have to worry about statute.
Exactly.
Okay, next one. I'll say
Actually, sexual assault in Texas
5
is
It's 5.
it was
no, it's more. It's more. It is at least based on what I've learned through the Catholic priest.
There's some kind of tolling if it happened when you were a minor, right? In addition to the regular minor tolling.
Not even that. If it happens as you're a minor, it's 33. So 18 plus
33 or 25, probably.
20, yeah, it's 33. 33 years old.
To be safe, let's just this disclaimer
Just
to
file
our
it with a
audience:
2.
we don't know.
Yeah. We have some nice, reasonable guesses, but not.
Right now, we don't know. We knew about an hour ago, but then this coffee just got to me.
Man,
We need some Google.
nothing take on the dirty verdict is intended to be legal advice.
Yeah, this is not legal advice.
If you
Nothing herein establishes an attorney-client relationship.
You're in bunny ears, Kyle. You don't have to say that.
Should you need more information, consult Google.
But we do like to talk about these legal stories. Kinda
Legal, what's the legal Zoom?
Legal Zoom.
legal Zoom. We just like to give general commentary, and maybe there's some helpful things, maybe not.
Probably not.
Next, we're going to stay with Waco. Former employee at a Waco candy, watch out, Waco candy manufacturing plant who was hurt on the job 2 years ago is suing the company for discrimination and retaliation after he was fired while undergoing treatment for the injury. You guys have probably seen this before. If someone's working for a company and they file a workers' comp claim, I believe there's some case law that protects them from being terminated while they're on the job. I think it was Sabine Pilot. Is that the
retaliation case?
I don't know. I'm not aware anymore. I'm looking at you guys for that. But here's what I thought was interesting. I didn't realize this was Mars, the candy company that makes Snickers, M&Ms, and Skittles.
Snickers, you laughing at this guy's lawsuit?
And it's one of Waco's largest employers. I didn't know that all these great delicacies are also made in Waco. Maybe you want to reevaluate your take on Waco.
Not me.
Interesting.
Kyle, you want to reevaluate yours?
No, not a million years. What is interesting, Dr. Pepper started in Waco, owned by Cadbury.
Yeah, and then what did they do? They switched to high fructose
corn syrup, yeah.
Fructose
Then
corn syrup.
Where's the one out in west of there where they make
Dublin?
Dublin, yeah.
Yeah, Dublin, Texas.
Okay, well, sounds like maybe there's more cultural things besides Magnolia in Waco.
Whatever you say, Forrest.
And we are, of course, like I said, I'm Forrest Gump. You are who?
I'm the guy from the movie Old School who knocks on the door and says, "I'm here for the gangbang."
Okay. And you didn't use those terms with our last guest.
Nope. I was having respect for the women in the room.
And
weird.
Kyle, you were dressed as like another Tuesday night.
Weird.
I'm not actually wearing it.
Kyle didn't dress up.
Kyle is like Tuesday night. What?
I've got baskets and eggs in my office for everybody here.
Yeah, it's always April in Kyle's world.
Yeah.
So next story, we talked about this before. The Post Oak Hotel got a second lawsuit alleging discrimination in the enforcement of their dress code at the H Bar.
After Willie Powell's? See what I think is interesting about that. And this is not to defend the Post Oak Hotel at all, because that's not what I'm doing. But if you go to a handful of 5-star hotels in Houston, right?
Where are you going to find a 5-star hotel in Houston?
I don't know.
Name one. Name another.
I'm just saying, you go to the Zaza, you go to the Column d'Or, you go to the St. Regis, you go to the Four Seasons, you go to the Grand Duca, you go to the Post Oak Hotel. Amongst those hotels, the most diverse clientele is the Post Oak, which is almost antithetical to the idea of discrimination. But at the same time, I 100% know what they're talking about. Like, I've been to the bars at the Post Oak. They have like guys behind the red velvet ropes, like judging you and whatnot. I'm not saying they've ever denied me entry, but I'm really handsome.
If you read the petition, that's true. You're a very handsome guy. But if you read the petition, it says not only was this African-American male told he couldn't do something, but then there were multiple white males in that room doing the same thing and were not told shit.
Was this another hat situation? They told him he couldn't wear a hat?
Yes.
This is a lady, and she was actually wasn't at the H Bar. She was at the Bloom and Bee, which is the
little restaurant, which is literally 50 feet away. It's across the...
No, yeah.
She apparently was wearing attire that was deemed
athleisure,
not appropriate, and although other women that were in of other it's a story. Other white women had their shoulders exposed, according to the lawsuit. Well, she had her shoulders exposed.
I would love to have Tillman on the show. Do you think Tillman would want to sponsor the Dirty Verdict?
No.
Does anybody here remember the Oak Room? I assume Bill is. I mean, Bill, look at you.
First of all, yes, I'm a member. Second of all, I don't like your tone.
Oh, I didn't mean to offend you and Tillman at the same
Third
time.
of all, Tillman and I will be fine.
You guys will get along just fine with.
Yeah, we will be fine with your.
Someday we're not.
criticism.
Someday we're not going to have Tillman and Bill to kick around anymore. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's fair.
Yeah. What's next? Mattress Mac? You can go after him?
Golly, I mean, him and Ken Paxton are pretty good, pretty tight.
And
these
those, I mean, he just had a bad week financially, at least at the gambling table.
Can I ask a question, by the way? And this is not intended to disparage Mattress Mac. If you're consistently getting your rocks off by betting $25, $50, $100 million, are you just being a savvy businessman, or are we allowed to say that he's a gambling addict? I mean, like, I don't know the guy.
It's all so my understanding is that Mattress Mac buys
Insurance to cover the bets?
to cover the bets, so that everything he's betting is covered, and it's just a genius way of free marketing.
I mean,
He does that.
okay, well, then maybe he's not again. Then I guess he's not. And I really
Well,
don't.
I will say this: in 2022, when the Astros won the World Series, I think he made a gigantic amount of money.
All right, let's go back to legal stories. Remember we talked about Megan Thee Stallion's lawsuit? Old,
First of all, Pete, hold on, let's back it up. Pete, who's Megan Thee Stallion?
she is a performing artist.
Okay,
It is Megan Pete.
What was the name of her last album?
I'm not allowed.
what's her hottest song? Hottest song?
Hold on.
No, we talked about this before, and I honestly can't remember.
Okay, well, I'll just say this. I mean, it's off the top of my head, but she broke out in 2019 with the viral hit "Hot Girl Summer,"
Hot Girl Summer.
and she's topped the Hot 100 twice since. First
Okay.
with 2020's "Savage," and then again later that year as a featured artist on Cardi B's.
Wasn't there something about For the People?
Wait. All right, we'll keep going, people. Pete's not
Lassie?
culturally diverse.
Good news is
Classy.
Sassy.
it was an interesting lawsuit because there's a thought that the record labels take advantage of young.
There's a thought or there's a fact.
Possibly a fact, at least according to this lawsuit, but it got hot, and then someone needed to give a depo, a CEO, and then all of a sudden it settled. So all good. Megan,
You call her Megan? That's what y'all are on first name basis?
I call her
I call her
You call her
Miss,
Stallion.
Miss Stallion.
Mrs. the Stallion.
Is she related to the Michigan assistant coach who's in trouble for all of the?
I think that's one.
I think she's not.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna put my money on she's not.
I'm not kidding. I went to the UT game this weekend, and there was a guy in the front row, Michigan hat, Michigan like sweatpants, Michigan jersey. I was like, respect, mad respect, to sit in the front row at an away game.
Costume. That was a costume.
No, I'm assuming it was a costume, but still awesome that somebody did that.
It took some courage.
Yeah. I asked him. I was like,
He's under investigation right now. So
Yeah,
it was a bad choice that way, but anyhow.
pretty funny.
I like it.
Okay, so we talked about the byline on this lawsuit claims woman contracted herpes when she was sexually assaulted by a masseuse at Massage Envy.
Ugh.
This is the one that with Anjali, right? Or no? This one's different.
Blizzard Greenberg.
Okay.
So civil attorney Anna Greenberg, I know they've filed that firm, and she has filed a bunch of these cases. And then we've traded texts about a recent.
Yeah, Anjali Nigam got a verdict affirmed.
Where
At the Court of Appeals.
Parent, which is that, and that's why we don't like necessarily getting too talkative about these sensitive issues, but from the legal side, I thought that was interesting, Bill, in that you have the franchisee that's a local franchisee that hires and
Supervises.
sets and all that, and then you have the parent that says, "Look, we give you
We give you the name and the training materials and some lotion, some sheets and some pillows.
I think it's oils. It's not lotion.
some
They're essential, Kyle.
Excuse me, Bill.
software and scheduling."
It's a slippery issue for you.
But apparently at least y'all's friend was able to get to the parent, which is usually very difficult.
Did you guys read that? Did you read the opinion?
I did.
What did the courts latch onto to let her tag the
control over the decision making.
Okay. I mean, that's basically what you got to get every time, but that's pretty good.
That's like in my opinion, control. When you're talking about independent contractor or employee, control is the number one factor.
It's all just titles.
And the
I used to be a member at Massage Envy, and no one,
you, Kyle, I don't believe you.
not a single person did anything untoward to me. In fact, this is how inappropriate they got with me. I went in to get a massage once, and the lady goes, "Are you allergic to latex?"
Did you say stop?
And I looked.
No, don't.
I looked at her, and I was like, "Latex." And like in my mind, I'm thinking condoms, which was not going to happen. And then she goes, "Like gloves?" And I go, "Are you going to give me a massage while you're wearing rubber gloves?" And she was like, "Uh-huh."
I need more.
And I was like, "Okay, I guess." And then I like canceled my membership because there's nothing less relaxing than someone putting the gloves on and like, okay, now I'm gonna touch your weird body. Ugh.
I'm sure
I should sue them for that.
I would like her side of that story.
Yeah. I'll tell you guys a story offline about the second half of that, but it does not reflect well on massaging.
So the case site for the one we're just saying is Massage Heights Franchising LLC versus Hagman 14-22-00160. And that was October 26, 23. Probably will be appealed. What do you think? Or at least attempted to be.
Likely. But they got to put up a bond.
Yeah, they've already had, right, at trial court. They have to put up another bond?
They have to put up another bond for appeal.
Oh, okay. Well, Supreme Court, I think, takes 20% as a petition. So that's the thing that a lot of people just think, oh, I'll take it to the Supreme Court. Well, Supreme Court
You got to pay.
has discretion on what.
You got to pay whether or not they grant cert or not.
Yeah, but and they may not grant it.
And if they don't, you're done.
Okay, so here's one that's kind of near
Spicy.
to my heart.
All right. Maybe tingle on my sinful places, Pete.
Well, the 2019 ITC Deer Park.
And he's making me tingle in my places of sin.
The story that I saw was like that case settled for whatever it did confidentially through a mediator's proposal. Bill, is that true?
It was not a mediator's proposal.
Okay, so
I will say, I'll give a little bit of background. ITC is 8,900 plaintiffs. I'm one of the co-lead lawyers on it. Our mediator was Bob Black, who I cannot say enough good things about.
Bob's great, and Kyle's going to be doing a presentation with Bob, in a couple of weeks?
Yeah.
You don't even know Bob.
I do. Bob has mediated with
Bob
me.
doesn't even like you.
Me and Bob are doing a CLE presentation about how to effectively prepare your case for mediation. He's giving the mediator's perspective. I'm giving the plaintiff's lawyer's perspective.
So I will say this. Bob was fantastic during this case. We started mediating too early. And at the end of it, he appreciated the people in the groups that were prepared. And I will say that case settled because of Bob Black.
He's very good.
And just for my benefit, what did Bob do that was so great? I mean, I mediated with.
So I will say Bob, from the first mediation session, a working session is what we called them.
Right. Yeah.
Which is where we don't settle, but we start talking. And from that moment on, Bob probably 4 days a week would chime in to the two parties arguing over the things that we didn't get settled in that session. And yeah, I think that the reason why I liked Bob that much in that situation was that he stayed on it. Like, it didn't settle the first one. We did 5 sessions with him, and it didn't settle in the 5th session. It settled after the fact, and that's because Bob kept pushing the parties to make an agreement, and he voiced what he thought was the value in our room, but I know that he also voiced it in their room, and he ended up coming to a number that would satisfy 9,000 cases. And so, yeah, I think Bob played a huge role in that. I also think that the reason that case got settled was because of the medical company that I used in that case, which is called Smart Reviews. So if you need a chronology, if you need care in a case that you're not really sure what to do, or if you need them to help you with prepping a client or prepping an expert or finding an expert, they do that as well.
Where are they located?
They're based out of Ohio, but they do a lot of work in Texas, and they are also on the mass tort side, the best fact sheet people there are, period. I send my fact sheets in on this case, and I had 1,600. I've yet to get a deficiency because of smartreviews.com.
And just for the listeners at home, in a mass tort case, standard protocol is in lieu of doing this discovery, which anyone who's been through a lawsuit, written discovery, the lawyers will get together and say, look, what do we really care about? What's the data?
Yes, both sides will get together and say, I need this. I'm willing to give this. And we come to an agreement, and then each client fills out that information. And 99% of the lawyers on the plaintiff side use a company to do that. Smart Reviews is the best that there is.
And then when the defendants say, oh, you didn't give us the right information, or you didn't fill out this part, you'll get a deficiency letter, and then you have to fix it, usually part of the case management order.
Right.
Set lines.
Right.
You vouch for these guys as being, you said.
They are. I have used every single one that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
This company is called Smart Reviews, is hands down the greatest company there is, and it's such an asset to plaintiffs' attorneys out there.
I'll say this for Bob. While he was settling your giant multi-million-dollar case,
It was well into 9 figures.
he did not submit an outline for our CLE. He did not contribute to our PowerPoint, nor did he submit a bio. So
Come on, Bob.
thanks a lot, Bill. Classic Bill.
Wait, time out. We're not blaming Bill. We're blaming Beaumont.
Classic Bob.
This is Beaumont.
Classic Bob.
Bob's out of Beaumont.
Bob could wake up from a drunken stupor and give that talk.
Yeah, Bob wakes up on the East Coast.
Well, I'm just saying he's not instilling a lot of confidence in his co-contributors by not doing the bare minimum. Thanks a lot.
He's that good.
Well,
We'll see.
Maybe
We'll see.
Smart Reviews could help with the Chick-fil-A class action, because they just settled.
What?
They
I saw that.
class action for $4.4 million in rebates or gift cards. It's a class action.
It's on ride-sharing delivery, right?
Yes, misleading delivery fees. So
Misleading.
4.4 million. I mean, that's the thing.
I will say this. I fucking hate this because class action lawyers specifically, and most MDL lawyers, multi-district litigation lawyers, are only in it for the money. When you have a class action that comes out with a $4.4 million verdict, all that tells me is settlement. All that tells me is lawyers made money. It doesn't tell me anything else.
Well, usually I would say yes, that's a problem just to get gift cards, and that's the big complaint about class actions. But Chick-fil-A gift cards, that's a little bit better.
The county would have done it on like a nuisance.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a nuisance cause of action, I'd imagine.
It's a subrogation because they paid death benefits to the family.
Oh.
Oh, it was an employee of the county.
So the county attorney's office is going to sue them for subrogation?
No, the county attorney's office, if they're smart, are going to jump in line. They're going to do a bunch of work real early before the plaintiff's lawyers catch on, and then they're going to have to split that fee.
It may be, I mean, I'm going off the news, so I hadn't delved in, whatever that term is, to the pleadings. But it's been filed 2 years post incident, so possibly there's another dram shop case going on.
Which bar is it?
It's called 45 Norte Bar and Lounge.
I bet what happened is the plaintiff's lawyer worked on the case for 2 years. The county attorney's office submitted their bill saying we would like to be paid the full number of these meds back,
No discount.
and then the plaintiff's attorney said, well, my guess is the insurance code says that you don't get to do that unless you hire a lawyer, and so that the Harris County Attorney's Office is going to be late to the game and try and prove up a bunch of work that happened in the last 90 days before settlement, because they've done that to me before.
Looking at you, Laura Kemp.
Kyle's speeding past the non-lawyer crowd. So, but I think this is important because this comes up for people that are in lawsuits and understand this. So if you are injured on the job and you have workman's comp and they pay for your medical and your an indemnity is what they call it, which is a weekly wage, and then you sue,
Your TIBs
and then you sue a third party because you say they actually caused
the injury, they can get some money back.
your employer's insurance company can be compensated or whatever, reimbursed for what they paid out of pocket.
Absolutely.
And that is and can be up to 2/3.
It depends on the type of coverage, whether it's comp or an ERISA plan or regular insurance. But yeah, whether they subscribe to the common fund doctrine, you could go on and on with all this nonsense.
You got real legal.
Yeah.
But big picture is if you have a case and you're a plaintiff and you have received workers' comp, don't think, or Medicare or Medicaid, this also applies. Any source that is paid for some stuff, they may have a right to recover from your third-party settlement.
Absolutely.
And you're thinking then possibly in this case, some plaintiff lawyer represented these deputies, sued this bar, obtained a settlement, and then the county was like, we want ours back, and then they intervened into the case.
I mean, I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying I have had that exact same lawsuit many times where comp pays out to a county employee, and then basically what the law says is that if the county rests on their rights and doesn't assert them, that the plaintiff's lawyer who carried all that water for all those years is entitled to some of that money and a discount on behalf of their client. And lots of times you'll see these municipalities or the comp carrier will jump in the last 90 days or the last 30 days before a settlement's about to be reached because the trial setting is public knowledge and say, oh, we're here, we're asserting the rights for our client. Plaintiff's lawyer, you're now screwed out of a part of your fee and we're not offering a discount. I don't know if that's happening, but that's the only context in which it's happened to me.
I'll look it up. Bill got totally bored with all that legal mumbo.
Sorry, Bill.
I mean, you guys started talking law, and I was like, what are these nerds doing?
Bill, anything new on the Alex Jones front?
Alex Jones, there's some new stuff, which is they found that the Connecticut verdicts were dischargeable, which is like $1 billion.
What does that mean?
Dischargeable means they can go start collecting.
Against him
Yes.
or his entities?
Yes.
Okay.
The problem with our verdict is that the bankruptcy judge said that the verdict was not clear enough as far as what was intentional versus not intentional. And so they said that we need to figure that out. We're not really sure what that means, which is, does the bankruptcy court determine what the Travis County judge thought was intentional or not intentional? So there's a little bit of gray area here, but we are...
Hold on. Wasn't one of the claims intentional infliction of emotional distress?
Kyle, you are speaking my language right now.
So
It seems like it's right there in the title.
yeah, that sounds like it. Bill,
You would think, however,
so
not the
Bill,
case.
well, we'll see. But Bill, again, for the non-lawyer people, if you have a judgment against you, you did something negligent, and you got $1 million judgment against you, and then you filed for bankruptcy, and you say, hey, what happens to that $1 million negligence only verdict?
What happens is you start assessing the assets. You get $60,000 of personal property, you get your homestead, you get a certain amount of guns, certain amount of cars, certain amount of horses and cattle,
Farm equipment.
There is a statute that lists
Jewelry.
out what you get.
Meaning the debtor, the person that files.
The person that owes you get certain protections. Yeah, exactly. And anything after that is collectible. The problem is not a lot of people, especially smart business people, have that amount of money that is unprotected.
Okay, and then if you just have the negligence judgment, you get in line with every other creditor. The trustee says, okay, guys, there's $100 here. You have $1,000 worth of claims. Everyone's going to get 10 cents on the dollar.
Pretty much.
Okay, so, but if it's an intentional, if the underlying verdict is based on
Not dischargeable.
facts, what does that mean?
That means we can pretty much turn this into a Chapter 7, which is liquidation, which is everything this person owns they need to sell, and we get that until our
Kind of called reorganization.
That's a Chapter 11.
Chapter 11, I'm sorry. And that, under that circumstance, you get like a payment plan and you try to figure out a way.
That's the court and the trustee attempting to take all of your debts as a business and make them to get them to a point where they can discharge them at a discount to make them go away.
And your reward for that is you get to have an ongoing business after bankruptcy.
Correct. You can say for the next 20 years you're gonna pay me $1 million a month.
And then the liquidation means usually in a business scenario, that business is gone.
Correct. They're liquidating the business. They are taking every single thing that they have, they're liquidating it at market value, and you get that.
So in this country, I don't think you're allowed to liquidate a human being unless they've committed murder.
Or if
The Holocaust taught us differently.
if they've taken student loan money.
Yeah.
That's not just so student loan money is not dischargeable
Yeah.
through bankruptcy whatsoever. So even if you file bankruptcy as a new
Recipient.
law graduate, that's not going away. You still owe that.
So
And hopefully your parents didn't co-sign on it because they'll come after them.
okay, so
They will.
liquidation. When a human has a judgment against them, as Mr. Jones has, how does that? You can't move a person to liquidation.
No, you can move that. You only can move their accounts.
Okay, so how do you collect a judgment based on underlying intentional acts? How do you collect them against a person?
So there's two types of lawyers, right? There's lawyers like me. There's smart people lawyers.
Bankruptcy
When
lawyers.
this happens, you hire smart people lawyers, and they figure that out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And here, I will shout out Marty Brimich and Phil Dublin and everybody on their team at Aiken Gump. Aiken Gump is the premier bankruptcy law firm in the country. And they called us immediately because two of their partners apparently are from Newtown, Connecticut. And it hit home for them. And so they said, hey, we will handle your bankruptcy, no charges.
Wow.
And they did. They've charged the bankruptcy to elevate the fees on it. But at the same time, they I don't think at any moment my clients are going to be paying Aiken Gump anything.
Aiken
Gump is probably, I don't say this a lot, but Aiken Gump is probably the best law firm from an ethical and moral standpoint that I have.
Aiken Gump did a big chunk of the Enron bankruptcy.
Aiken Gump is, if you Google who's the number one bankruptcy law firm in the country, Aiken Gump is it. And they called us and said, please let us handle this for free. And Marty Brimich and Phil Dublin, I cannot give you guys enough credit. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, with that, Bill, unequivocal endorsement of their practice, we'll sign off this week on the Dirty Verdict podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Like, follow.
I apologize for Peter's appearance.
And I am, yes, again, this outfit is Forrest Gump. You are someone who we can't say what you are again because
It's profane.
Because Pete's rules.
Al is going to dinner with some friends after that. Good night.
Thank you for joining us. Another night on the Dirty Verdict. To all our people, you're amazing.
Never stop, never stop.
So how many edits on that?